Hello everyone, myself Amrita Yadav, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmacy, BPDU. Today I am going to discuss about gas chromatography. Introduction of gas chromatography. It is a process of separating component or components from the given food drug by using a gaseous mobile phase. It involves a sample being vaporized and injected onto the head of the chromatographic column. The sample is transported through the column by the flow of inert gaseous mobile phase, and the column itself contains a liquid stationary phase which is adsorbed onto the surface of an inert solid. Two major types of gas chromatography are there. First one is gas solid chromatography and other one is gas liquid chromatography. Coming to gas solid chromatography, here the mobile phase is a gas while the stationary phase is a solid, which is used for separation of low molecular gases, for example air component, H2S, CH2, carbon dioxide, rare gases, carbon monoxides and oxides of nitrogen. In gas liquid chromatography, the mobile phase is a gas while the stationary phase is a liquid which is retained on the surface of an inert solid by adsorption or chemical bonding. Coming to the principle of separation of gas chromatography is partition. The mixture of component to be separated is converted into a vapor and mixed with gaseous mobile phase. The component which is more soluble in the stationary phase travels slower and eluted later. The component which is less soluble in stationary phase travels faster and eluted out first. No two components have same partition coefficient conditions, so the components are separated according to their partition coefficient. Partition coefficient is the ratio of solubility of a substance distributed between two immiscible liquids at a constant temperature. Instrumentation of gas chromatography, it consists of the following parts: carrier gas, for example helium, nitrogen, hydrogen, argon, in which helium is more common; sample injection port, which is used as microsyringe; column, which is a heart of gas chromatography; detectors. In detectors, there are four types of detectors: thermal conductivity detector, electron capture detector, flame ionization detector, and finally flame photometric detector. We will discuss each part of the instrumentation, starting with carrier gas. The cylinder or gas tank is fitted with a pressure controller to control the pressure of gas, pressure gauge that indicates the pressure, a molecular sieve to transfer filtered dry gas, and a flow regulator to ensure a constant rate of flow of mobile phase to the column. It should have the following criteria: it should be chemically inert, it should be cheap and readily available, it should be of high quality and not cause any fire accidents, it should give best possible result, it should be suitable for the sample to be analyzed and for the detector. Hydrogen, helium, nitrogen and carbon dioxide are commonly used as carrier gas. Hydrogen has low density and better thermal conductivity, therefore it reacts with unsaturated compounds and is inflammable and explosive in nature. Nitrogen is inexpensive but it gives reduced sensitivity. Helium is the most preferred gas. Inlet pressure ranges from 10 to 50 psi, flow rates 25 to 150 milliliter per minute for packed columns, and flow rate is 2 to 25 milliliter per minute for open tubular columns. Sample unit or injection port is attached to the column head. Since the sample should be in vaporized state, the injection port is provided with an oven that helps to maintain its temperature about 20 to 500 degrees centigrade above the boiling point of the sample. Gaseous samples may be introduced by use of a gas-tight hypodermic needle of 0.5 to 10 ml capacity. For liquid samples, microsyringe having capacity 0 to 100 microliter capacity may be used. Injection of sample into capillary columns. First one is the split injection. It splits the volume of sample stream into two unequal flows by means of a needle flow to pass on to the column. The bigger part is allowed to be vented to the atmosphere. This technique reaches highest sensitivity is required. Automatic injectors for improving the reproducibility, and when a large number of samples are to be analyzed or operation is required without any attendant, automatic injectors are used. The solid samples are introduced as a solution or in a sealed glass ampule, crushed in the gas stream with the help of a gas-tight plunger, and then sample gets vaporized and flow into the column under the influence of carrier gas. Column unit. Column are of different shapes and size that includes U-tube type or coiled helix type. They are mainly made up of copper, stainless steel, aluminum, glass, nylon and other synthetic plastics. Support material. Its main function is to provide mechanical support to the liquid phase. An ideal support should have a large surface area, chemically inert, and it should get uniformly wet with this liquid phase, should be thermostable. Commonly used solid phases are diatomaceous earth or kieselguhr, glass beads, porous polymer, sand, etc. Now coming to liquid phase, the properties of liquid phase it should be non-volatile, should have high decomposition temperature, it should be chemically inert, it should possess low vapor pressure at constant temperature, and finally it should be chemically and structurally similar to that of the solute, that is polar for polar solute. Example of different types of liquid phase category. Non-polar hydrocarbon phases, for example paraffin oil, which is also known as butane, silicon rubber gum oil, used for high temperature of about 4000 degrees centigrade. Polar compounds having polar groups like CN, CO and hydroxyl group, polyglycols, which is also known as carbowaxes, and third one is liquid having nitrogen bonding, for example glycol, glycerol, hydroxy acids, etc. Types of columns. There are two types of columns, packed columns and capillary columns. In packed columns, they are densely packed with finely divided inner solid support material, for example diatomaceous earth, coated with liquid stationary phase. In gas chromatography, the columns are packed with adsorbent or porous polymers whose length is 1.5 to 10 meters, internal diameter is 2 to 4 mm. In capillary columns, length ranges from 10 to 100 meters, inner diameter is usually 0.1 to 0.5 mm. Capillary columns are mainly of two types: wall-coated columns, support-coated columns. Wall-coated columns, it consists of a capillary tube whose walls are coated with liquid stationary phase, whereas in support-coated columns, the inner wall of the capillary is lined with a thin layer of support material such as diatomaceous earth onto which the stationary phase has been adsorbed. It is also known as float, that is porous layer open tubular columns. Support-coated columns are generally less efficient than wall-coated columns. Both types of capillary columns are more efficient than packed columns. Equilibration of the column. The packed columns are equilibrated before introduction of the sample. This is done by allowing continuous flow of heated carrier gas through the column for a specific duration of time, generally 24 hours as prescribed temperature. Ideally prepared and conditioned column shows zero baseline on the recorder upon passage of the carrier gas alone. Column temperature. This can be controlled by jackets equipped with vapors of the boiling liquid, electrically heated metal blocks or circulating air baths. Compounds of low boiling point eluted at lower temperature. Compounds of high boiling point boils at higher temperature, resulting in broader and shallower peaks which requires temperature programming. The eluted solute particles along with the carrier gas exist from the column and enter the detector. The detector then produces electrical signals proportional to the concentration of the component of solute. Thereafter, the signals are amplified and recorded as peak at intervals on the chromatograph. Now, what are the properties of an ideal detector? The properties of an ideal detector is it should be sensitive, it should operate at high temperature, approximately 0 to 400 degrees centigrade. It should be stable and reproducible. It gives linear responses, which uses wide dynamic range, fast responses, and simple and reliable. It should be not destructive, and uniform responses should be obtained to all analytes. The first detector is going to be discussed here is thermal conductivity detector. Thermal conductivity detector is based upon the fact that the heat lost from a filament depends upon the thermal conductivity of the stream of surrounding gas as well as its specific heat. You can see this, you can see the diagram of the thermal conductivity detectors. When only carrier gas flows, heat loss to metal block is constant. Filament T remains constant. When an analyte species flows past the filament, generally thermal conductivity changes, thus resistance changes, which is sensed by Wheatstone bridge arrangement. The imbalance between control and sample filament temperature is measured and a signal is recorded. Advantages of thermal conductivity detector is it is simple and inexpensive, durable and possesses long life, it gives accurate result, and it is non-selective, hence known as universal detectors. There are certain disadvantages also, low sensitivity, and it is affected by fluctuation in temperature and flow rate. Next detector is electron capture detector. Molecules of compound which possess affinity for electrons differ in their electron absorbing capacities. This differences is utilized in this detector for identification of the compounds. Working of the electron capture detector, a foil made up of a radioactive metal like Ni63, it is a beta emitter, is placed inside a Teflon coated cell which also contains a cathode and an anode. In the absence of organic species, the produced electrons migrate towards positive electrode and produce a certain constant standing current. When a sample or eluent is passed, it captures the electrons, elutes from column. There is a drop in this constant current. The potential across two electrodes is adjusted to collect all the ions, and a steady saturation current is therefore recorded. Coming the advantages, it is highly selective, highly sensitive for the detection of compounds like halogen, quinones, peroxides, nitrides, etc. It is non-destructive and it is more sensitive than thermal conductivity detector and flame ionization detector. Coming to the disadvantages, it is least sensitive to compounds whose molecules have negligible affinity for the electrons, and carrier gas used should be of pure form like pure nitrogen. Next detector is flame ionization detector. This uses hydrogen flame and that is maintained in a small cylindrical jet made up of platinum or quartz. Effluent from the column with helium or nitrogen as a carrier gas are fed into the hydrogen flame. It gets ignited and undergoes pyrolysis to produce ions. For detection of these ions, two electrodes are used that provide a potential differences. The ions produced are repelled by the positive electrode which hit the collector plate, and the current produced in doing so is amplified and fed in an appropriate recorder. Flame photometric detector. It is a selective detector that is responsive to compounds which is containing sulfur or phosphorus. The detection principle is the formation of excited sulfur and excited hydrogen phosphorus oxide species in a reducing flame. A photomultiplier tube measures the characteristics chemiluminescent emission from these species. The optical filter can be changed to allow the photomultiplier to view light of 394 nanometer for sulfur measurement, or 526 nanometer for phosphorus. Application: it is used for the detection of heavy metals like chromium, selenium, tin, etc. in organometallic compounds. It is also used for the analysis of pesticides, coal, hydrogenated product as well as air and water pollutants. Hello friends, myself Amrita Yadav, Assistant Professor, School of Pharmacy, BPTU. Today I am going to discuss about high performance liquid chromatography, that is HPLC. Starting with introduction, chromatography. Chromatography is a method in which separation of component takes place between two phases. One is stationary phase and a mobile phase. What is stationary phase? The substance on which adsorption of the analyte, that is the substance to be separated during chromatography, takes place. It can be a solid, gel or solid liquid combinations. Coming to the mobile phase, solvent which carries the analyte, it may be a gas or a liquid. Now, types of chromatography. There are various types of chromatography, for example, paper chromatography, thin layer chromatography, gel chromatography, column chromatography, ion exchange chromatography, gel filtration chromatography, gas liquid chromatography, and finally affinity chromatography. HPLC, high performance liquid chromatography or high pressure liquid chromatography. It is a chromatographic technique used to separate component of mixture for the purpose to identify, quantify or purify the individual components of the mixture. This is widely used in the field of biochemistry and analytical chemistry, or you can say that the high performance liquid chromatography is a method of separation in which the stationary phase is contained in a column, one end of which is attached to a source of pressurized liquid eluent, that is mobile phase. Now, types of HPLC techniques. It is based on the following factors. First, based on mode of chromatography, based on principle of separation, based on elution techniques, based on scale of operation, and finally based on type of analysis. Based on modes of chromatography, there are two modes, normal phase and reverse phase. In normal phase, the stationary phase is polar in nature and the mobile phase is non-polar in nature. This is not advantageous in pharmaceutical applications since most of the drug molecules are polar in nature and takes longer time to be eluted and detected. In reverse phase, the stationary phase is non-polar and the mobile phase is polar in nature. Since most of the drugs and pharmaceuticals are polar in nature, they are not retained for longer time and eluted faster. Next is based on the principle of separation. Adsorption chromatography, separation of component takes place because of the differences in affinity of compounds towards the stationary phase. Ion exchange chromatography, an ion is used to separate a mixture of similar charged ions. Similarly, size exclusion or gel permeation chromatography, in this a mixture of components with different molecular sizes are separated by using gels which act as sieves. Based on elution techniques, isocratic separation and gradient separation. In isocratic separation, the same mobile phase combination is used throughout the process of separation. The same polarity or elution strength is maintained throughout the process. Whereas in gradient separation, in this technique, a mobile phase combination of lower polarity or elution strength is used, followed by gradually increasing the polarity or elution strength. Next, based on the scale of operation, there are two types, analytical HPLC and preparative HPLC. In analytical HPLC, where only analysis of the sample are done, no recovery of the samples is required. In preparative HPLC, where the individual fraction of pure compounds can be collected using fraction collectors, the collector samples are then reused. Next is based on the type of analysis. It is qualitative analysis and quantitative analysis. In qualitative analysis is used to identify the compounds, detect the impurities, or to find the number of components, etc. Whereas in quantitative analysis, it is done to determine the quantity of the individual or several components in a mixture. Instrumentation of HPLC. HPLC instrument consists of the following components: pump, mixing unit, solvent degassing, injector, column and detectors. A graphical representation of the HPLC instrumentation is shown in the figure. Instrumentation. HPLC instrument consists of the following components: first, pump, next, mixing unit, next, solvent degassing, next, injector, column, and finally the detectors. Starting with pump, the most important component of high performance liquid chromatography, that is HPLC, is the pump, because its performance directly affects the retention time, reproducibility and detector sensitivity. Most of the work in analytical HPLC is done using pressure between 400 to 500 psi, but for analytical applications in which columns are 25 to 50 cm in length and packed with particles of 5 to 10 micrometer, the pump should be capable of delivering the mobile phase at flow rates of 1 to 5 milliliter per minute and at pressures reaching about 5000 psi. The role of the pump is to force a liquid called the mobile phase throughout the liquid chromatography at a specific flow rate expressed in milliliters per minute. Normal flow rates in HPLC are 1 to 2 ml per minute. During the chromatographic experiment, a pump can deliver a constant mobile phase composition, that is isochrotic, or an increasing mobile phase composition, that is gradient, best for the analysis of complex samples. Now coming to the types of pumps. There are 4 types of pumps, that is pneumatic pumps, syringe type pump, reciprocating pump, and finally hydraulic amplifier pumps. Starting with the pneumatic pumps. Pneumatic pumps are now mostly used for the preparative purpose or column packing. The pump are not in common use now. In fact, actual pumping system can be classified as non-reciprocating pump or one-headed, two-headed and three-headed mechanical reciprocating pumps. Non-reciprocating or constant pressure pumps. A pneumatic pump is operated by gas pressure. Pressure from a gas line acts on a large piston which drives a piston of small area. The gas pressure is thereby amplified in the ratio of the areas of the faces of the piston, and high pressure liquid at constant pressure is delivered to the system. In other words, pneumatic pumps use a source of a pressurized gas to drive the liquid mobile phase to the column, either directly in a holding coil or a stainless steel cylinder, or by means of flexible or moving separator, in order to prevent substantial dissolution of the gas in the upper part of the liquid. These pumps are cheap, however they are substantially solvent consuming. Solvent change is not rapid and the maximum pressure available is usually limited to smaller than 100 MPa for safety reasons. Next one is syringe type pumps. It is work on the principle of positive solvent displacement by a piston mechanically driven at a constant rate in piston. Chamber of about 250 to 500 milliliter capacity. with the generation of pulseless flow with high pressure capabilities. These pumps provide the lowest dead volume pumping system. They flush solvents simply by a push button action of a purge valve. During sewage pumps, they have also been developed in which one piston is delivering the solvent to the column while the other one is refilled from the reservoir. The material in contact with the liquid allow the use of most solvents including chlorinated hydrocarbons, detergents and oxidizing agent. Now, what are their advantages? It potentially quite stable flow delivery because no check valve has to be activated during analysis. A combination of two syringe pumps allow the generation of multi-shaped gradient profiles and the use of flow programming. Next one is reciprocating or constant flow pumps. A reciprocating pump is generally driven electrically. The driven piston pressurizes either the eluent directly or hydraulic oil, which acting through a diaphragm pressurizes the liquid from the solvent reservoir. In reciprocating pumps, basically movement of a plunger piston causes suction of the eluent during the backward stroke and the delivery of the pressurized solvent during the forward stroke. The pump head is equipped with a valve check valves to ensure the positive direction of flow. The main difference between reciprocating pump and the syringe pump was based on the higher piston frequency and the smaller volume of the solvent delivered during each piston cycle by the former. Constant flow reciprocating pump. The term reciprocating describes any continuously repeated backward and forward motions. This is widely used type of pump. In this, solvent is sucked during backstroke and gets delivered to the column in forward stroke. Next is syringe or displacement type of pump. It consists of a large syringe-like chamber in which solvent is stored. It is suitable for small bore columns. Next is pneumatic pump. Gas is used to pressurize the mobile phase present in a collapsible solvent container, and it is most widely used type of pump. Next is mixing unit. Mixing unit is used to mix the solvent in different proportions and pass through the column. There are two types of mixing unit. Low pressure mixing chamber, which uses helium for degassing solvents, and high pressure mixing chamber, which does not require helium for degassing solvents. Mixing of solvent is done either with a static mixer, which is packed with the beads, or dynamic mixer, which uses magnetic stirrer and operates under high pressure. Solvent degassing. What is solvent degassing? Several gases are soluble in organic solvents. When solvents are pumped under high pressure, gas bubbles are formed which will interfere with the separation process, steady baseline and the shape of the peak. Hence, degassing is necessary to avoid these problems. Injector. The injector serves to introduce the liquid sample into the mobile phase. Typical sample volumes are 5 to 20 microliters. The injector must also be able to withstand the high pressure of the liquid system. The amount of the sample to be injected into the column after the final preparation step can be determined by the fact that the component of interest have to be detected with adequate accuracy after separation on the column. This amount depends on the two main factors. First, the sensitivity of the detector for these components and the extent of dilution undergone in the column. Thus, the volume to be injected is determined by the concentration of these components in the sample. It is usual to consider that the injection process is independent of the column migration process. A complete description of the injection process and of its contribution to peak broadening is very complex. It depends on the following factors: type of the injection system used, connection with pattern between the injector and the column, and finally injected volume as well as the injection time. Coming to the types of injector, there are three types of injector: septum injector, stop flow injector, Diodyne injector. Septum injector for injecting the sample through rubber septum. This is not in common use since the septum has to withstand high pressure. Stop flow. In stop flow, the flow of mobile phase is stopped for a while and then the sample is injected through the wall device. In Rheodyne injector, it is the most popular injector. This has a fixed volume loop like 220 microliter to 50 microliter or more. Injector has two modes: load position when the sample is loaded in the loop and the inject mode when the sample is injected. Column, it is the heart of the chromatograph. Column length, the size depends on the amount of compound being isolated. Generally it varies from 5 cm to 30 cm, having a column diameter which ranges from 2 mm to 50 mm and having particle size from 1 micron to 20 micron. Particle nature, it may be spherical, uniform sized, porous material can be used. Now, material for construction of the tubing, stainless steel, the most popular, which gives high pressure capabilities. Next one is glass, mostly for biomolecules. And next is PEEK, polyether ether ketone polymer, which has biocompatibility and chemically inert to most solvent. Now, packing material. The packing material is prepared from silica particles, alumina particles, or ion exchange resins. Porous plug of stainless steel or Teflon are used at the end of the column to retain packing material. Particle packed column with either totally porous or the newly developed coarse shell particles and monolithic columns are used in conventional or miniature HPLC systems. Column packing, three types: microporous support, where microporous ramify through the particles which are generally 5 to 10 micrometer in diameter. Pellicular support, where porous particles are coated onto an inert solid core such as glass beads of about 40 micrometer in diameter. And lastly, bonded phase, where the stationary phase is chemically bonded onto an inert support. Detectors which are used in HPLC: UV detectors, refractive index detectors, fluorimetry detectors, conductivity detector, and lastly amperometric detectors. Major types of detectors which are generally used, that is UV detectors, UV visible detectors, diode array detectors, that is DAD, fluorescence detectors. Next one is differential refractive index detector, and lastly conductivity detectors. Coming to the brief introduction of these detectors. First, UV detector. The light source is a D2 lamp. This detector is used mainly to detect components having an absorption wavelength of 400 nanometer or less in the ultraviolet region. UV visible detectors are used. D2 lamp and a W lamp are used as the light source. This detector is effective in the detection of coloring components such as dyes and stains because of coverage of the visible light region. Diode array detectors. Data on the spectrum from the ultraviolet to visible light range is also collected. Fluorescent detectors. Fluorescent substances can be detected specifically with high sensitivity. Differential refractive index detector. It detects change in the refractive index. Component absorbing no ultraviolet light can also be detected despite low sensitivity. Next is conductivity detector. Mainly inorganic ions are detected by monitoring the conductivity. Other types of detectors are also used. For example, the electrochemical detector ECD, evaporative light scattering detector ELSD, charged aerosol detectors, that is CAD, and others are also used. In addition, the LC-MS system, in which the components separated by HPLC are further analyzed using a mass spectrometer, is becoming widely used because of its high sensitivity and the possibility of specific detection. Application of HPLC. In pharmaceutical applications, it can be used to control drug stability, tablet dissolution, study of pharmaceutical doses from pharmaceutical quality control, environmental applications, detection of phenolic compounds in drinking water, biomonitoring of pollutants. Next application is application in forensic, that is quantification of drugs in biological samples, that is blood, urine, etc. Identification of steroids in blood, urine, forensic analysis of textile dyes. Lastly, determination of cocaine and other drugs of abuse in blood and urine, etc. Next application in food and flavor, measurement of quality of soft drinks and water, sugar analysis in fruit juices, analysis of polycyclic compounds in vegetables, preservative analysis, etc. Application in clinical test, urine analysis, antibiotic analysis in bloods, analysis of bilirubin, biliverdin in hepatic disorders, detection of endogenous neuropeptides in extracellular fluid of brain, etc. HPLC-MS has become a reliable technique for xenobiotic analysis. The HPLC-MS are used to study the pharmacological and toxicological of molecules of mass smaller than 1500 Daltons, and this is advantageous in three areas: development of specific method for trace analysis, detections and characterization of metabolites. Next application is to study the interaction between drug molecules and the peptides or the proteins. HPLC-MS are used to study the deposition of cyclosporin and its metabolites in needle biopsy samples from kidney and liver, in which sample sizes several severely limited. Next application is analysis of phytoplankton pigments of marine ecology and climatic research. HPLC coupled with different detection systems, for example UV, MS, NMR, are used to study anthocyanin chemistry, prevalence in plants, biosynthesis and metabolism. Bioactivities can also be studied with the help of HPLC. Now there are several advancements in HPLC instrumentation. First is column switching. Usually in HPLC system, it consists of a simple flow through sequence of one or few columns. If this sequence is branched or switching devices are used to interfere individual columns, then it becomes possible to exert powerful control on the quality and the basis for the separation, and LC becomes a versatile and powerful separation system. Switching within the network may be manual or automatic. Next advancement in HPLC detectors: new single quadrupole mass spectrometer, that is MS based detectors for mass confirmation. Next advancement is 1H NMR, a new detector for liquid chromatography, which provides information of chemical shift and indirect coupling constants parameters, which gives local electronic information of each hydrogen atom in a molecule, and it is non-invasive in nature. Next advancement for separating larger biomolecules. Originally, HPLC was developed to separate small molecules. Proteins can prove more challenging. Larger biomolecules diffuse at a slower rate than small molecules, and they also do not separate as efficiently with reduced particle size, that is sub 2 micrometer. Separation of protein by size exclusion chromatography, on the other hand, can benefit from sub 2 micrometer particles. Phenomenix released 1.8 micrometer size exclusion chromatography X150 columns for size exclusion chromatography separation of proteins up to 450 kilodaltons, and 1.8 micrometer Sec X300 columns for molecules up to 700 kilodaltons, such as high molecular weight protein aggregates and larger biosimilars. Now other forms of HPLC. These are chip-based HPLC, microcolumn chromatography, multi-dimensional chromatography, nanoliquid chromatography, and lastly UPLC chromatography.